Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports. Today we have the real video, the real review on this 2014 Toyota Tundra. This is the 1794 edition. It is the Crew Max. It is four-wheel drive, and you may have seen our real first impressions video on it, but today we're going to give you all the details, including more comparisons to what has changed from the outgoing 2013 we saw late in the year to this, well, now 2014 with the redesign. So let's hop in the cab here, get going, and see what this full-size truck has to offer. Welcome back. Here we are, driving along 1794 edition, 2014 Toyota Tundra. We've got the Crew Max cab here, we've got the 4x4, we've got almost every option you could think of, chrome wheels and running boards, and I mean, just navigation and satellite radio and everything that you would want in a luxury truck. Now, the things that are interesting about this vehicle is the 1794 edition. You might want to know what 1794 means. You might want to know what it has to do with Texas. And we'll tell you here coming up. You also are going to be interested in, from a detail perspective, of how does this truck fit the landscape. You know, it's got a new exterior from the front, and the back is a little different. The interior is definitely different than the previous model year, the 2013, one we saw very late in the model year, right before the holidays. And we said, well, you know, it was late to report on that one because we knew that these were in dealerships already, and they were being advertised like crazy. You've probably seen the commercials. They're trying to advertise these as lifestyle trucks that can also handle the projects that you want to do, where you can build a baseball field in your backyard, or, you know, so on and so forth. I'm sure those of us that have been watching football and everything know what those commercials are all about. And I think the interesting part of this Tundra is that Toyota has come such a long way with these full-size trucks. There was a time where the biggest truck you could get was a Tacoma, and then they came out with the Tundra. I remember when I was in high school and the Tundra was out and hitting the scene, and there were people that I knew in Texas that would not own them because these trucks, even though the outside was nice, they were not American made, and they were not perceived to be worth buying and using in a heavy-duty capacity. They also had a certain sense, like if you were working for an American company, that you pulled up, like say the people who worked in Arlington and built cars for a living, if you pulled up in a foreign-made truck as opposed to an American-made truck, that could have been a problem. But those times have really changed, and to those people who say, oh, well, it's not made in America, actually, that's the funny part about the 1794. And it behooves us to go ahead and talk about that part of the 1794. This 1794 is named such because it is a ranch that Toyota bought outside of San Antonio, Texas. It was established in 1794, as the story goes. And so, since this truck is built in Texas and is built in the U.S., they decided to make a package based on it. Well, so that's the story. Now, no different than the Laramie and the King Ranch edition that Ford has, and you know that harkens back to the old King Ranch. And I like the idea that they're doing heritage stuff. The problem is that if you dig into the history of 1794 and that ranch that they bought, if being from Texas, I'm not sure that I really identify with the original owners of that ranch, but that's okay. It is an American piece of land. It does have historic pieces, and so there you get a top-of-the-line truck that has beautiful interior accoutrements. It has good finishing. You have contrast stitching. And all of that goes to say, if you want to pay almost $50,000 for a truck, Toyota now has a very nice option. The 2013 that we saw, which was not cheap, it was in the upper 30s for that truck, it didn't have navigation even, and it didn't even have a color display for the radio. And one of the things that I thought was interesting about that is that you looked at that price point and you went, gosh, you could get an American-made truck that would be just as capable, if not more so, and you felt like it had more stuff in it. Well, I think for 14, they've really closed that gap for people. And in this truck, you're going to find memory seats now, especially in this upper end package. Remember, you've got a limited, which used to be the top of the range in those Toyota packages. Like I had a limited 4Runner when I was in high school. This is well above and beyond that. The limited now is kind of the upper middle, if you will, and then you have the platinum, and now you have this one right here, which is the 1794. So what comes in this truck? Well, you've got special badging here in the console, you've got badging on the floor mats, you've got rubber mats with this really intricate carpet material and rubber, and it's just a square and then the rest is rubber with the badging of 1794. In my first impressions, I gave them a little ding because the 1794 colors on the floor mats and here in the console and on the outside don't all match. So from a brand and marketing perspective, something that I have been doing a long time, I think that's a little interesting and odd even so. You've got this lovely leather interior with suede inserts, the new JBL touchscreen navigation up here in the dashboard. I like a lot of it. The color display between the gauges. The changes are mostly where you're going to notice them, and mostly what they are looks and luxury type features. And so that is not a bad thing at all. We like how they've changed this truck. The things that they have not changed that you might have wished that they would address are things like the fuel economy. We still have the 5.7 liter V8, a 6-speed automatic transmission in this, and yes, you can shift it over to sport mode and shift it if you would like to, but you can only go up to 6 gears, and a lot of the trucks, including the Ram, are going up to 8 speeds, if not 6, 7, and 8 speeds. But the 8 speed is something we're seeing a lot of in trucks. So, you know, it is mated, at least it's not a 5-speed automatic, so 6 speeds is better than 5, which we're still seeing in some of the old Lexus technology, like in the GX that we looked at. But the thing is when you're getting 13 miles per gallon in town and 17 on the freeway, those numbers really go back to trucks that are several years older than this model year. And when you're seeing 15 to 22 out of the top Hemi with Dodge, it does make the sell a little harder, considering that the price points really aren't that different. You can get a very nicely equipped Laramie Dodge with leather and rain-sensing wipers and all sorts of fun stuff that this truck does not have, and it will still get better gas mileage. And frankly, the dollars and cents are there for you to compare them. So why would you buy the Tundra? Well, I will say that this Tundra has amazing back seat capacity with this Crew Max. Really, really like the back seat room in this truck. I think that it makes it very usable with a family and for in-town duty. I think also that the fact that they flip up and they lock, which is nice so they can't accidentally fall down, you get a lot more floor room. Now there's no bucket under those rear seats. So in the older trucks, you used to see a well so that stuff didn't slide out from under the rear seats. You don't have that in this. And like the Ram we looked at earlier this year, well, actually, it was last year because this is 2014, but in 13 when we looked at the Ram, it had extra storage boxes that looked like little battery boxes that would sit down in there that you could store stuff in. So there's also a lack of imagination to some degree in this Tundra with the storage capabilities. Now, when it comes to driving and ride, I talked about in my real first impressions, I am not a huge fan of the steering in this Tundra. I find it very light, and you can see I can just kind of rock it here. I don't actually like the steering at speed in this vehicle. And in parking, the turning lock to lock, you can see when we do the circle in our in the back of Real Auto Ranch, that is a very difficult circle to film with this truck because it just does not want to do it, in the space that we've allotted for it. And when you're parking, what I notice is that it just feels like you're constantly turning the wheel a lot. It just feels, I don't know, it feels like you're driving a much bigger, older vehicle to me than you are. But you can see when we get on it that this is a very quick truck, and it also has quite a bit of noise when you're accelerating. I feel like I have to kind of yell over it. But that's almost 80 miles an hour just from that acceleration. So that's not bad. It's got good performance. It just doesn't have great fuel economy for your daily living. Around Colorado, and the fact that we are driving this vehicle at a mile high, we're actually not seeing 13 miles per gallon, which the EPA would want us to believe we'd see in town. We're seeing, and we're definitely not really seeing that 15 miles per gallon combined. In fact, if I go through the display on the truck itself from when we've been driving the last couple hundred miles, what we're seeing is 12.8 as an average combined fuel economy. So I wish I could say I've only been driving this truck in town, because then we'd be close to that 13 miles per gallon. But we haven't been. We've been out on the freeway, and we've been in town, and out here in the outside of the city on these 2-lane roads, we've got 55 mile an hour speed limits. And sure, I admit to having a lead foot, but I don't admit that the way that I drive on a daily basis should be getting me, 2 or so miles per gallon less than that average. So it is definitely a fuel drinker, but a lot of these trucks are. I mean, again, 15 to 22 with the Sierra and the Dodge Ram. I keep doing that, Dodge Ram. The Ram 1500. So, I mean, you could give it a pass, and you could say, okay, the fuel mileage isn't that big a deal to me. But then there are the other things like, do you like the way it drives? So make sure you check that out if you're in the market for one of these. The thing that Toyota has done an excellent job of is the looks of this truck. I like the front end. I like what they've done with the LED running lights. I like this roll down back window, which I can put down right here and put back up, because it's the whole window that goes up and down. It's got a nice big sunroof. Of course, you've got your sunshade. It's got the features. The things it's missing, from my perspective, are the trailer towing brake, so that it's got a tow haul mode for the transmission, but you don't have a way to control the trailer braking from inside the truck like you could on the Sierra SLT we tested. And the same thing, in a Ram, you can get the trailer brake module built into the dashboard. Ford, you can also get that on certain packages. I just would like to see that kind of functionality coming to this full-size truck. In the inside, if you look across the dashboard, it's a very nice dashboard. The thing that it does have that is pretty nice in this package is the heated and ventilated or cooled seats. That is an excellent add to a truck that is going to get warm. In the 1794 package here, we have this bronze mica metallic paint job, and that is also very nice. The JBL sound system is nice. Now, the one thing I will note about the JBL is that these doors are mostly plastic over here. You've got some soft touch, but this is plastic, that's plastic, plastic, plastic. So the reason I bring that up, the dash up here is plastic, except for this little soft touch in front of the passenger. The reason I bring it up is that if you listen to your music and you are a fan of bass, the doors will rattle in this truck, even with the bass turned to the middle, where everything's zeros. If you try to crank it out, you're going to get that, crank it up, I should say, you're going to get that kind of vibrating noise in this truck, which is interesting. Same thing I noticed about the rear seats. When you have them folded up, you are going to hear them rattling more than I expected to. And then, of course, it's got a nice sound, but the engine noise can be quite, you'll notice it in this truck. Not necessarily more than you will in other vehicles, something that you're going to want to check out for your own tastes. So all in all, what do I think about this truck? I think it's very usable. I think it's got some nice features, but I still think Tundra as a brand and as a truck has some areas that they could improve, and they could, if they did that, this could be a class-leading vehicle, especially if they got the miles per gallon up and they made the driving experience a little more dynamic. All in all, though, it's going to be a nice truck for a lot of people, and there are a lot of Toyota fans out there. So, like the commercial shows, if you need to go build a baseball field in your backyard, the Tundra might be the one to do it. We'll have our wrap-up coming up next. All right, so that's the real video, the real review on this 2014 Toyota Tundra. This is the Crew Max. It is a 4x4, and as we've talked about, it is the 1794 edition. Right about $50,000 as tested, and with some neat features and the luxury appeal of other competitive American trucks. I would say American made, but you know that this is made in America now, south of San Antonio on what used to be the JLC Ranch, hence the 1794 established date that they use for the edition. But if you're going to compare it to high-end trucks from the other manufacturers, Ford will have its King Ranch, Chevrolet will have its High Country, and GMC the Denali, and so on and so forth. You're also going to have, of course, the upper-end package of the Titan in a luxury package, and it just goes on from there. Dodge has their Laramie Longhorn, and I guess what you really need to know is that this truck is going to be priced more comparably to the GMC SLT Sierra that we saw. So the Sierra SLT, if I put it in the right order. And so it's going to give you more value for the type of package it is, but don't kid yourself. This is really a looks truck. You're not going to want to take it off-road and beat it up because it's really just too pretty. However, it can do some duty around town, and it can tow and haul. It just doesn't have all the features you might find on some of the competitive vehicles. So take it out, test drive it, see what you think. I find the steering and the suspension a little disappointing, but you might really like it. I think that Toyota's doing a great job, but they're not quite back with this redesign to where they were in 2008 when they won the Truck of the Year from Motor Trend. So we'll see how they do in the coming years. Maybe they'll surprise us. For Real Auto Reports, I'm Jonathan McGrew. This is Real Auto Reports at Real Auto Ranch, and we will see you down the road.